Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolutely incredible evolution of cinema. We're going to go on a journey from the ancient dust of early performance arenas all the way to the glowing modern screens that captivate us today. If you've ever wondered how moving pictures became one of our most powerful forms of human expression, you are in exactly the right place. I mean, really think about that for a second. How exactly did we leap from the visceral, literal, life-or-death thrill of gladiator blood sports to the poetic heights of a Shakespearean stage, and then finally arrive at the cinematic screens we all know and love today? It definitely wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate, fascinating evolution of storytelling. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with amphitheaters to optic lights, then look at the dawn of Philippine cinema. Break open the filmmaker's essential toolkit. See how we classify the cinematic experience, and finally wrap up by celebrating the cinematic arts. Section 1. Amphitheaters to optic lights. Long before cameras ever started rolling, a spectacle meant gathering together in massive shared spaces. Ancient audiences were completely captivated by gladiators in Greek and Roman amphitheaters or the heavy emotional depths of Greek tragedies. Fast forward to the Renaissance, and you've got icons like Shakespeare staging these incredibly complex narratives. These performing arts were the vital precursors to cinema. They really cemented our deep-rooted human need to just gather together and watch a story unfold. And this brilliantly illustrates that rapid leap from the stage to the screen. In 1893, cinema officially kicked off in Europe and America, heavily sparked by Thomas Edison's optic lights. That's what finally allowed film to join the humanities as a genuine art form. By 1927, silent movies had completely taken the world by storm. And what's truly fascinating is how quickly this global invention localized to tell regional stories. Take the Philippines, for example. By 1930, we see the release of the silent film El Filibusterismo, and just a few years later, in 1933, Antonio Semplo was already shooting the very first Tagalog movies. Which brings us to Section 2, the dawn of Philippine cinema. Those early 1930s Tagalog films, like Pituing Marikit and Puñal na Quinto, well, they weren't just novelties. They sparked a massive cultural movement. As the industry evolved, it started producing deeply impactful contemporary hits. We're talking powerful narratives like Brutal, Burlesque's Queen, and Sister Stella L. Audiences were given sprawling epics like Oro Plaza Mata. And crucially, cinema became a mirror for society, tackling real, everyday issues in films like Tinimbang Kangwanu Kulong and The Floor Contemplation Story. These weren't just moving pictures anymore. They were vital reflections of the culture. But of course, you absolutely cannot have a cinematic boom without the undeniable stars who drove it. This era gave rise to legendary actors and producers who poured immense talent into their craft. Think of icons like Leopoldo Salcedo, Anita Linda, Chirito Solis, and Fernando Poe Jr. And then you have absolute powerhouses like Vilma Santos, Nora Honor, and Sharon Cuneta. They were the ones who formed that vital, emotional connection between the glowing screen and the audience's heart. So we know the history and we know the stars. But how do they actually pull it off? That brings us to Section 3, the filmmaker's essential toolkit. The crucial thing to remember here is that a film doesn't just magically assemble itself, right? At the absolute center of it all is the director. The director is the captain of the ship. They are the ultimate visionary who will literally make or break, do or undo the film. It's entirely on their shoulders to control the narrative flow and to draw out the absolute best and sometimes the necessary worst in the actors to serve the story. Then we have the camera. And the camera is definitely not just a passive recording device. It's a profound tool for expressing personal commentary and a very definite point of view through its position, angle, movement, and focus. Think about the last movie you watched. How did a low angle make a character look intimidatingly powerful? Or how did a sudden shift in focus completely manipulate your feelings? The camera dictates exactly what you see and how you are supposed to feel about it. Now, what we see has to be perfectly paired with what we hear. And there's a really important distinction here. Sound is what gives glitter to the film. It brings stark realism and allows the actors to physically manifest their voices. But music? Music is the emotional undercurrent. It sets the grand illusion. It establishes the mood, and is almost always the secret ingredient that makes a film memorable and enjoyable long after the credits roll. Now that we understand the tools used to craft these stories, how do we organize the final products? Let's move to Section 4, classifying the cinematic experience. Now, what's really interesting about this is how cleanly we can separate the intentions behind different types of films. Action gives us visceral kicks, vengeance, victory, and defeat. Horror purposely depicts supernatural phenomenons just to thrill and scare us. But look at the contrast between facts and feelings here. A documentary strictly exists to educate by presenting facts accurately and without bias. A drama, on the other hand, does something entirely different. It takes the real-life situations of the common people, the masa or common tao, and projects them onto the big screen so we can see our own lives reflected right back at us. With so much effort, history, and raw emotion poured into these genres, how does the industry evaluate its greatest achievements? That brings us to Section 5, celebrating the cinematic arts. To truly appreciate cinema as a legitimate art form, there has to be a system to honor it. Award-giving bodies play an absolutely vital role here. For example, the Manunuri ng Pelikulang Filipino was established on May 1, 1976 by Manuel Pichel and Nestor Torre Jr. The creation of critical evaluative bodies, exactly like this one, changed everything. They are the institutions that elevate film from being mere disposable entertainment into a celebrated, deeply respected art form that actively shapes humanities. And that brings us to the end of our journey today. From the sand of the gladiator pits to Edison's optic lights, from the director's chair to the award stage, cinema is just a phenomenally complex, deliberate construction. So I want to leave you with this one thought. The next time you sit down in a dark theater or turn on your screen at home, will you watch your next movie just as passing entertainment, or will you see it for what it truly is, a carefully constructed piece of art? Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.